Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. So today, I want to talk about, well, you've seen the title of this video. I took one of these G-Shock King watches and decided to convert it to a metal version. And the question is, what was I thinking? And that's not in the sense of trying to explain why I regret this. No, I don't regret this. What I'm trying to explain is what was my thought process that made me think that was the best thing to do at this point, as opposed to some other options. So let's take a look at some of these G-Shock Square watches here, okay? The original G-Shock Square from back in 1983 looked an awful lot like this one here. So it's never really gone out of style. You can still get several variations of this, and this is kind of the newest version with a couple premium features like tough solar and multi-band 6 for automatically setting itself to the right time and charging up its battery. But in a lot of ways, this just still looks like that original G-Shock, right? But they've come up with some more premium features on G-Shocks in addition to releasing this same basic shape in different colors. And I suppose the most advanced G-Shock squares out there right now would be similar to these right here. These have the tough solar and the atomic timekeeping with multi-band 6, but they also have Bluetooth, so these can connect to an app on a smartphone or a tablet to access some additional features. So this is kind of the top of the line for the budget-friendly G-Shock squares at this point. And then they've gone one step further with those same features of solar, multi-band 6, and Bluetooth, and they've put them in some premium watch cases lately, where the bezel is made of metal, and in some of them even they also have metal watch bracelets as well. So when you get those, you're going to pay a premium for those, unfortunately, if you're budget conscious like I am. So kind of the entry level on the all metal G-Shock Square is $400 up to $500 for that. And then you start getting into where they use titanium and it's limited edition and some of these, and you can go well above $1,500 for one watch if you get some of these really high-end premium G-Shock squares that are out there today. Now, I already have some Casio watches that come with some titanium elements on them, and while you do pay a premium for this sometimes, I don't think it's going to raise the price by like $1,000 just to get titanium. So I think a lot of that has to do with limited runs, limited edition, paying for the research and development. I don't know, but see, it seems to me like it's a little difficult to justify buying basically the titanium version of this for over $1,000 for just one watch. So here's what some people do. They will take a watch like one of these and they will buy a little kit, maybe from AliExpress or some kind of third-party kit that comes out of China, where you can replace the original resin bezel and watch band on one of these watches and make it a metal G-Shock with the third-party stuff. Now, it's not going to have Bluetooth, and in a lot of ways, you're always going to know that it's just a replica of something you could have bought already made from Casio. But if you want that metal look and feel and style, and you don't want to pay as much, you could go down and get one of these for about $100, and then somewhere less than $100 get the kit to convert it, and all of a sudden you've got an all-metal G-Shock. Or you could even get you go down and get the basic G-Shock from, say, Walmart for somewhere between $40 and $50, do the conversion of that, and, for somewhere less than $150, maybe even closer to $100, you got a metal G-Shock Square. It's not as fancy as the ones Casio sells that are already metal. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, well, rather than buy a kit to convert something like this, what if I took a watch like this one, which Casio has never sold in a metal version, and then I buy a kit for this one and I do the conversion on this, and then I have a watch that is kind of a little more unique because, again, it's not going to look like something you could just buy from Casio. So that was what I was thinking when I decided to get the metal kit for one of these. And just before I go too much farther, I should explain, a few months ago, I got this, and this is a plastic watch bracelet that I put on one of these G-Shock squares. And this one is lightweight, inexpensive. Some would even call it cheap. The Chinese copy of Casio's composite bracelet. So this won't cost you very much, and some people don't like it. They don't think it's very strong. I should make it clear that when I've seen these metal kits that you can get, actually they have pretty good solid metal, and the links are made of solid metal, and people really like them. So I just want to make the distinction between this inexpensive, lightweight, and maybe not very strong bracelet you can get versus the metal third-party kits are actually, pretty high quality compared to what you might expect if you were thinking about one of these. All right, so I want to show you the kit that I got. This kind of looks like an unboxing video, and normally I don't like unboxing videos. I don't need to show you the box, but in this case, I do want to show you everything that came with the kit. So you've got the metal bezel, and so that looks nice, and of course the bracelet itself. Then you've got 3 tools there. You've got a nice Phillips screwdriver, and then a blade screwdriver, and then a little spring bar tool as well. The watch doesn't have spring bars to hold the bracelet to the watch, but you do need the spring bar tool to take links out of the watch bracelet. So let me just show you how I did this, and other people have shown this on their videos, but I want to make it clear since this kit, it's a nice box and it has those tools and everything looks nice, but it doesn't have any instructions at all. So let me just show you how this is done. First of all, on either side of the watch, there are 3 screws, 2 larger ones and a smaller one in the middle. So you'll want to take out those screws. The small one in the middle comes out pretty easily and just falls out. The ones on the ends that are holding the bracelet or the watch band in, those are, you can loosen them up, but they don't just fall out all by themselves. You gotta kind of coax them out a little bit. So I just used the one screwdriver to just make sure I pulled them the rest of the way out. So you take off the 3 screws on the one side, and then, of course, you remove the 3 screws on the other side. And that actually will release not only the bezel, but it will release the watch band from the watch as well. So you can just, pull the pieces of the watch band out very easily. And then you just sort of peel the bezel off. It's actually a fairly soft piece of plastic. And so you just kind of, just gently nudge it, pull it away from the watch module, if you will, and there you go. That is the basic watch. And I see that as I pull this apart here with the lighting and the close-up photography that I'm doing here, you can see every little bit of dirt and grime and whatever has built up inside the watch from wearing it and using it. So, that seems gross. What I'll do is I'm just going to clean that up a little bit before I go any farther. And I decided not to use any kind of chemicals or alcohol or something like that to try and clean that off. All I did was take a cotton swab and put water on it, just tap water, and rub that around a little bit until it feels a little bit cleaner. Okay, so now you have, again, this is the basic module here. And you can see that underneath the buttons, the button covers, if you will, on the original bezel, there are just some regular, stainless steel type buttons on the watch. So those are the buttons that will now be exposed, and you're going to use those normally like you would, with any other G-Shock watch, to access the functions and features and settings. The next step would be to unwrap the bezel. They wrapped it in this kind of extra thick, it's kind of like saran wrap, but it's extra thick. So I tried to carefully get that plastic wrapping off there. I guess you could just tear it off because the bezel that's underneath there is strong. But anyway, I was using gloves because I actually, kind of injured my hands when I was working on a building project, and my hands are dirty and look all messed up. So, but actually I found that it was a little bit difficult to work with the gloves on. The gloves I had were not quite the right size for my hands. And so I'm going to take the gloves off here. And then what that does is, well, the shiny part of the bezel will pick up a lot of fingerprints with the gloves off. But there's parts of the bezel that are kind of a brushed look. And then most of the watch bracelet also is kind of a brushed look. So they're not going to pick up a lot of fingerprints, but there are parts of the bezel that are just a very polished, shiny chrome look, and they'll get some fingerprints on there. Anyway, so you got that bezel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just press that in place over the, over the watch module, if you will. And that's basically it. So I'm going to use they gave me 4 screws with the watch kit to attach the bezel and the bracelet to the watch. Now this is where it got just a little bit tricky, not that hard, but what I did was I had to push the bezel in place. And then from the opposite direction, I had to push the watch bracelet up into the right place and get them aligned just right so that then I could press the screw into that position and then start to tighten the screw with the little blade screwdriver that they provide in the kit. So it's just a little tricky if you've got two hands, because you got to hold, again, the bracelet from one direction, the bezel down from the other direction, line those holes up, and then with your other hand, tighten that screw. And once you get the one screw in, it would make it easier to get the screw in on the other side. So while you took 6 screws off the original bezel, you don't need a screw in the middle, that tiny screw in the middle of the bezel on the sides. You don't need one of those. So you just, again, now using 4 screws, put it all back together. And now, basically that's it. You've got your watch all ready to go, all converted and looking nice with that metal. It feels really good and solid and kind of hefty because, again, you have solid metal links. Now, at this point, some people would say, well, what about this black plastic piece on the back? Don't you want the thing to be all metal? Why don't you take off that black plastic piece there? And what I see is that that's actually part of the 4 screws that are holding the back of the case on, to cover up the battery and the other internals there. So I suppose I could try to take that off and replace those screws, and maybe it would be a good tight fit and it would be fine. But right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and leave that black plastic piece there. And when I'm wearing the watch, I don't see that. And it might help with some comfort as well, because, some of these edges, might otherwise feel a little bit sharp. So anyway, that's as metal as I got, leaving, again, that little bit of plastic on the back of it. At this point, I tried the watch on to see how well it would fit, and that's when I realized, okay, with all the links in there, it's too big for me. So I need to go in and I need to remove one of the links. And this is similar to a lot of different watches, but also a little bit different. There are holes in the side edges of the links, and what I had to do is I had to take the pointed end of the spring bar tool and push it into one of those holes and then wiggle it a little bit to loosen up the link. There is something similar to a spring bar. I guess you could call this a spring bar that's holding the links together. So lots of little spring bars in there, but these are not quite like the spring bars I'm used to. Usually I see the spring bars that have like little rings on the tips, and these just don't have those. And so it makes it so the only way to compress those would be to push it with something sharp. And what I found was that the spring bar tool they gave me didn't seem quite long enough, so I used a different tool that I already had to help me push just a little bit deeper into where those spring bars are, and just wiggle it a little bit until one comes loose. And of course, to take out one link, you have to remove the little spring bar from the same position in the link next to it. And then once you've got those out, you can go ahead and put the links back together with the one taken out. At this point, I decided I only needed to remove one link for my wrist, and then I was able to use the kind of micro adjustment spring bar in the clasp in order to do the rest of the adjusting to make it a little bit tighter and make it fit my wrist, I think, pretty well. I think the results turned out really well here. Now, just to be thorough, let's take a look at the original configuration on this one, and it weighed in at, about 88 grams originally. So what is the difference now if I put the converted version back on this same scale? And now we're up to, 204 grams. So well more than double the weight now with that metal kit on there. So I guess that's an indication that it's pretty solid metal. And is that going to bother you? Is that too heavy of a watch? Well, I don't know. It already started out being a pretty big watch. So now that it's converted, if it weighs a little bit more, I don't know if you'd really be able to complain about that. It's just the way it is. Big, thick, beefy watch. Okay, and you know what? I actually have them both. So let me just give you a side-by-side comparison. I think the way these buttons are covered on this one, it just makes it look a little bit larger. And this one here, the metal one, doesn't stick out as far with the buttons. So in a certain sense, it seems like maybe it looks larger, the original configuration versus the metal one. maybe that's just an optical illusion. But if you don't have them side by side, you'll still think either one of them is a big watch. Just to be clear, this is the GXW-56 watch. There's another version of this, the GX56, and the only big difference between the two of them is that this version I have here has the multiband 6 built in. Both of these watches are that. And if you get the GX56, then it doesn't have multiband 6, but it still has all the other functions and features of this watch. And there are different colors out there available. I decided to go with this one because I just thought this would be the most neutral to do the conversion on. But if you want to get one with the reverse LCD with the kind of the black face with the lighter characters in there, you could certainly do this same conversion on this. And my understanding is that this kit, this metal conversion, will fit on either the GW56 or the GX56. So if you got those larger G-Shock King watches, you can try this. Now I got this one. There are some other versions that come in like a gold tone or maybe, some other variations on color. I decided I wanted to go with this one. I just found it on AliExpress for $100. There are other places you could maybe find them for maybe a little bit more, but probably not much less than that. If you just look up GX56 metal kit, something like that, it shouldn't be that hard to find one if this is really what you want to try doing to your G-Shock King. So there you go. Long term, my concerns about getting a metal G-Shock or doing this conversion like this would be, again, how will this finish hold up over time? Will this tend to scratch easily if I use this in everyday situations? Am I going to bang this up and make dents on it and things that are, more easy to see those flaws on metal than perhaps on plastic or resin. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, since I now have both of them, is in more casual situations where I might be a little more rough on the watch, I'll wear this one. And when I want to dress up or when I have an idea that I'm not going to do anything that is going to tend to damage the watch, I'll be more prone to wearing this metal one. So I've got the options there, and that's kind of fun. And of course, also I have some spare pieces here if I ever do mess this up somehow, spare bezel and watch band that I can use on here anytime I want. Or if something drastic happens, I can configure this one right back to where it was, because just really easy to do with screws and just a little bit of time. All right, that's all for now, and I hope you will join me again soon, because I will have more episodes of The Good Timekeeping Show.